Welcome to the Gear Slum, your one-stop shop for all things guitar culture nonsense. I'm Aaron.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Cole.
If it isn't making dollars, it isn't making sense. We slum it hard so you don't have to.
I like it. Did you make
It's
that
your
up, Aaron?
guitar culture and cryptocurrency nonsense podcast.
No, it's from Page of the Lion song.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you aren't moving units, then you're not worth the expense.
It's a really good line.
Yeah. It's really good.
I
It's real.
That whole
really
album,
good.
that whole
I should
album
know
is
Yeah, that
Pedro
album's
the
great.
Lion better than I do.
I don't know if you would like them, to be honest. I was
Tell
going to
me
say
what
you
I
would
like.
like them, but
it's
I
weird
have
that
no idea what you like.
it's weird that we were just talking about First Class because I had to go to Brazil 3 or 4 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and you never get upgraded on international flights. Like, it's not even an option.
It costs $1 Brazilian.
But it's different. I guess going to Latin America is different than going overseas, I think, maybe. Because it's not called First Class. It's called something else, but it was basically first class. And on the flight, the main flight down
It's
to
called
Rio,
white class instead of
Exactly.
first class.
they upgraded me, and I had that album on my phone, and I just had
nice.
it on repeat for basically the Pedro the Lion Control.
Yeah.
I had it on repeat for like the entire freaking 12-hour flight. And so now whenever I hear that album, that's like that
Think of
memory.
that trip.
That's like what I think of is that.
That's funny.
And it was great being upgraded because they have those seats that like fold all the way down and your feet kind of go under the little,
Oh,
it's like a little tunnel that your feet go
Yeah.
through, but it kind of tapers down really small at the end. And I have really big feet. So it was like
You got
just
to put one leg at a time.
basically, yes.
Alternate legs.
You kind of have to like slide up and then like point your toes down it a little bit.
Okay,
it
so-
wasn't ideal.
Cole, you just bringing that up made me remember something that I just heard recently in a podcast. That so I don't know who the writer was, but they were commenting on it on the thing I was listening to, that the space on commercial airline flights, they sell you the seat, right? You
Mhm.
buy a seat, and with the seat, there's an agreement of, if I'm basically renting the seat for this, the flight, so this period of time, and I'm renting space, right? But what the airline does not want you to talk about, they don't even want their flight attendants really to kind of understand this, is that they are selling the same space to two different people at the same time because of the reclining seat. I get that seat and I believe this is my space, but that person believes that they get to recline, which means they get that space.
Right. It's the
behind
same with the
them.
armrest, too. It's like,
That's true. Yes.
Who does this belong to? We both
Yes.
paid for it.
We both
We
paid
can't
for
use
this
it at the
one.
same time.
Yes. So there's like multiple areas where there's like,
But I mean, like the idea that you're
Dual-sold
like
space.
renting space is not really true.
Yeah, you're
Well, what am
really
I doing?
like paying for
I mean, that's like-
passage.
Yeah, you're paying to like
Like
take you
fair.
from
It's like
point
if
A
you
to
get.
point
It's like if
B.
you pay for a bus ticket, you may or may not have a seat on that bus.
Yeah, and honestly, you can
What?
buy
No.
seats
Like a city bus. I'm saying like
you
not
are
like a,
you are
not a
guaranteeing
Greyhound or something.
you are buying the right to be able to sit down in a seat, but you're not buying space on a thing.
I am renting transport.
Yeah, but like even like
It's like
yes,
you're saying
renting transport.
I'm
You're
paying you to
but-
take me to this place, and they're
but
like,
no,
okay,
you're not.
this is the place where you're allowed to sit.
You're not renting anything. You're paying
You're
for
right.
a service.
I'm paying for Yes, I'm paying for
and
transport.
you're paying for them to
But-
take you from point A to point B, and in your ticket, you get the right to sit in one of the seats. But it's not like it guarantees you any of the space inside the plane or whatever.
Right. Just
Because, like,
like
let's be honest, like, I'm buying more space than the 150-pound woman next to me, unfortunately.
Yes, I was gonna say, like, if there's a, I don't get the choice to sit. Could I please sit next to somebody who weighs 110 pounds,
Who's not obese.
Right.
not
And also,
somebody
like,
who weighs 300 pounds?
You're
'Cause
allowed
that
to
means
take
I get
on
more space.
You're allowed to take on like carry-on luggage, but you're not guaranteed a place to put it.
Yeah.
I know that is also very strange. They're
It's
like,
like, you
but
might have to stick
but
it
they'll
up like
check it. But they'll
13
check it
rows
for you
forward
for
or something.
free. But that's like,
Yeah, if it doesn't fit, they will.
because I'm sure that's all in the terms though. Like, it's not like they
Yeah,
are
yeah.
guaranteeing you to have space.
It is
right,
funny,
but that's
though.
that's the
But it
thing.
is annoying.
Like, they don't want. They actually don't. They don't talk about this. The article that somebody was quoting was that they don't talk about this with their flight attendants because they don't want flight attendants to address it. They don't want them to.
So like,
like,
there is no policy.
Yeah, they don't
It's
want
just
it
like,
to.
just deal with it.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, for the reclining seats because they can't. Like,
But,
there's
like,
no
but
there's
Aaron
no
said
right
this-
or wrong.
The
you
arms
can,
are the same.
You have
That's
the
a
right
good
to
point.
recline your seat. It's douchey
Exactly.
to say don't recline your seat. Like,
Oh,
no,
exactly.
I'm going to do it.
But
But
that
I
means
personally-
don't have the space in front of me.
Yeah. I personally don't recline my seat because like the benefit you get from reclining a few inches doesn't outweigh the cost of like losing the space right in front of your face, to me.
Yeah.
Even though it's somebody else's, like, it's benefiting me at their cost, but it's still not worth it to me personally. So I never recline my seat
What
except
if they're reclined
when
and
except-
asleep?
except because I'm fat and like my leg will like press against the recline button sometimes because it's on the inside of the armrest,
Just start drifting.
And I'll be like, sorry, that's all I can do. My legs don't go any closer together. So
Listen, I held my breath long enough, and
yeah,
once I finally,
trust me. I'm clenching my
finally
butt
took
cheeks together for this entire flight just so they aren't like pushing against you under the armrest.
Well,
So
when you guys fly,
cut
like,
me some slack.
so like I'm all the way back in the seat and my knees are touching the seat in front of me.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
yes,
Like,
Yeah.
there's no room for me.
Even
to,
for
like,
me, I mean, that's partially
move.
because I'm fat, but I like that's how I am too, and I'm not even tall. I'm like 5'10",
Yeah, I mean, I have
The-
short legs, but
the issue. I mean, I guess okay.
they're like
the
3
issue
inches,
is
3-inch
is-
legs.
the
Which
issue
leg are
of
we talking?
of left to right of your left to right measurement is one thing, but I feel like the issue of
There should
like,
be
the back of your the back of your hip to the front of your knee
Mm-hmm.
is ultimately like
the issue. Part of
that's
the
thing I
issue
run
is
into
that
every time.
it's weird that they leave your comfort up to another passenger. Essentially, is what
Yeah.
they're doing.
Yes,
Like they allow one passenger to have a huge impact on another passenger's experience,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is kind of weird.
That's
very
why I always put my feet out under the seat and like just hope I'm not kicking someone's ankles in front of me.
that's why I
Yeah,
sit
But if
on
we,
the
if
aisle.
it was like if I was in a car crash, I would lose my legs in that position. Like, that's the position I take.
yeah.
I choose to sit in the aisle and then prop my aisle side leg up on the armrest in front of me.
You,
To
if you
express-
do that,
to
I'm
express
never
my
doing
dominance.
a podcast with you again. With your
To
shoes off,
assert your
with bare feet.
dominance.
Yeah, shoes off, socks on, just kind of wiggle.
What
Okay,
I
here's
do
a
is
move that I do.
I sit in the middle and I wrap my arm around the armrest. I don't use it. I just like hug it. I hug it on both sides.
So you know the
Sometimes I'm
armrests
resting
on
my
the
elbow
aisle.
on someone's thigh. I don't care.
You know how the armrests on the aisle don't go up?
Yeah.
yeah.
They do go up. You just have to push the
Oh.
secret button underneath.
Oh dang.
And so I'll usually fold
the
that up
secret button.
slightly,
They're like, sir,
Ooh, yeah.
sir.
just to give my hip some.
How did you
relief,
do
know?
that?
Sir?
I mean, obviously the move is to sit in the first row of coach if you can, so you get that little wall in front of you instead of a seat,
Heck yeah, dude.
and you get an extra foot or so of space.
I mean, depends on the plane because sometimes you
Yeah,
kind of
that's
get
true.
screwed out of your. Like every other seat has an actual monitor on the headrest, and then
Yeah,
that one
yeah,
you
it's
have
just
to like
like-
fold it out of the side or whatever.
Yeah.
It
Well,
depends on how long the flight is, I guess. But then again,
And then there's,
then you
I mean, there's
are
the
uncomfortable for a little bit.
there's the emergency exit seat. That's the one. where you get
Yeah,
more room,
that's a
but then
good one.
that's a lot
Which
of
doesn't
freaking
recline, but it's
responsibility.
actually you don't get more room left to right, but I actually kind of prefer that. And in fact, a lot of the exit rows, like the armrest is one continuous like piece of metal straight
Yeah,
through
yeah.
to the seat, you know.
But then
But
it
I
like
kind of
hugs
like
you
that because
in.
then it's like, yeah, it just like keeps me in my place.
Yeah, which doesn't happen often.
I think I'm gonna start saying I would like to. I I will take the responsibility of being the emergency exit seat, and then I will start telling people to thank me for my service.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, even though,
Yeah.
like, listen, it's still a lot of
But
responsibility.
it's just like, I mean, it's just like people in the army. There are
emotionally.
plenty of people in the army that never like went to active combat, but they were willing
Exactly.
to.
Exactly.
They
Yeah.
signed
The
up
fact
for
that
it,
I'm willing
just
to.
like you.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the service they provided. to
Just
their
because we didn't
workers.
get in a wreck.
Yeah. You guys, I was emotionally prepared to save all of you.
Yeah.
I didn't have to, but I was prepared to do it.
Yeah.
So come on. Give me my
Okay,
flowers.
so here's you want to hear? I actually flew a week ago.
Guys, it's
about a
it's
week
just the
ago.
flu, okay? It's
I China flew a week ago, and Wuhan flew. So I went to Alaska, and I haven't really told you guys much about this, have I?
not
Well,
much.
you told us in the
I guess I
chat.
did a
You
little
said,
bit.
and then you said
Sent a
then
few
flood of
pictures.
pictures at the end.
Oh yeah, when I finally had actual internet service. I didn't have internet service for a week, which was pretty sweet. It was basically like a satellite based extender, so it could download a tiny bit of data when you're standing right next to it, but it couldn't upload anything. So, but on the topic of flights, there are a few things that happened with our flights. So we flew to Seattle, and then the next morning we took a flight they call the Milk Run. Are you guys familiar with that?
The milk runs?
Yeah.
Not familiar.
I am, because I'm lactose intolerant. But it's a flight that stops. It stops in 5. I think it was 5. Maybe it's just 4 cities in Alaska, and ends up in Juneau.
Are there 5
then
cities
turns-
in Alaska?
Or maybe it goes all the way to Anchorage and then turns around. But at any rate, it stops first in Ketchikan. You've probably heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then it goes to Wrangell, Alaska.
Yep. Very familiar.
And then it goes to Petersburg, which is where I was going. And the flight between Wrangell and Petersburg is 10 minutes.
Nice.
So, and I was on the exit row for that flight. So every time they would come by, because you land and drop some people off and pick up some new people, every time they come by and make you recommit to do the exit row. And it's like, I've just been
Oh my
sitting here. Like,
Between 10 minutes.
and I was like looking at my phone
Hey,
at
a lot's happened
during
since then.
one of
I'm
them.
changing my mind.
I was looking at my phone during one of them, and she like tapped me and was like, "Hey, you need to pay attention."
Really?
Yeah,
It's like, if
was
we start to
nuts.
crash, I'm going to put my phone down.
yeah. So,
It's like that Mitch Hedberg joke. Where he goes, if you have legs and are flammable, you are never blocking a fire exit.
oh man. Okay, so I think I told you guys this, and maybe I don't know that you understood the gravity of the situation, but
Gravitas.
we flew. We spent the night in Seattle, so we got our bags back and then had to recheck them, and well, we were actually just carrying everything on. So as we're carrying everything on, we had like fishing lures in our bags, so that was kind of a pain because they're like these big hooks, and and then had all of our stuff. I'm used to just like checking my clothes or whatever. So security, I don't know why. So all my stuff got pulled aside to be checked, but you know how you have to take your laptop and iPad out?
Yeah.
They didn't pull those aside. So all my stuff gets pulled aside. So I kind of moved to the side where they're checking all my stuff and did not get my laptop and iPad.
No.
And I realized it when the plane was about to take off, like it was taking off.
Mm.
And I go look in my bag to pull out my iPad, and it was not there. And I started having a freaking panic attack. So I text Lacey really quickly before I took off. I left my laptop and iPad at security in SeaTac. And then I should go back and find I think my exact words were, "This is the worst possible thing that could have happened." Because this is like my freaking work laptop, and
yeah.
and I'm thinking like I'm about to go to a place for a week where I have no internet, so like, it's going to be this huge issue that Lacey's trying to solve for me.
Cool. It's not the worst, but okay, go on.
Yeah, like obviously I'm still healthy and whatever. Well, as you know, as healthy as I was before, and but so this first flight, this first leg going from Seattle to Ketchikan, the internet on the plane wasn't working, and so I was basically just like kind of panicking, thinking like, well, I'm never seeing those again, you know, and like my iPad is just my personal thing, so I'll replace that. But now I gotta, like, maybe I'll have to pay for my work computer. They're not gonna make me pay for it, but will they? Because it was my own negligence. Like,
You're like, I got to remember all my Google searches, like what
exactly.
are the keywords.
But then like I would get little snippets here and there from Lacey. So I sent her. I was able to get like the serial numbers and everything and send them to her. And a couple days in, and somehow I was able to just like push it out of my mind and still have an awesome trip. We were fishing at this lodge in the middle of nowhere, and she texted me after a couple days and said they found both of them and they're gonna send them to us.
Whoa.
So I was like so excited. And then as we're coming back, my first day back to work was Thursday, and long story short, my laptop and iPad were delivered to my house at 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday night. So
That's pretty cool.
I was kind of panicking again. Like I'd sort of accepted that I was going to get him back, but then the conversation in my mind was becoming like, I have to go to work tomorrow. Like, I'm just going to show up without a computer. And
geez, guys.
yeah.
And you're like, oh,
yeah. I don't even have, like, I could have
Check
faked it
all
on
my
an
pockets.
iPad, but I don't even have my iPad either, you know? So amazingly, it showed up. So we caught a buttload of fish, and we've been eating fish the last few nights.
Nice.
Pretty awesome. We had
Wait,
bacon
so-
wrapped halibut last night.
Sounds pretty good.
wait. Tell me how this works. You caught a buttload of fish. Obviously, we're measuring the fish with your butt, which is not the
In
most
your butt.
hygienic-
It's a load, so you have to
Yeah.
load it into your butt.
not the most hygienic thing.
No, you
But
butthole the
how did
fish.
you got the fish from Alaska back
Okay,
to
so here's
Utah?
the way this
in your
operation
butt?
works. They know what they're doing. They have
they know
extra-
what they're doing.
they have no unnecessary luxuries, which maybe that's an oxymoron, but the rooms at this place, it's like a very high-end lodge, and the rooms are the most basic room you could possibly imagine. The TV on the wall is like that episode of The Office when Michael has his TV that pulls out.
I love this TV.
And
Sometimes I just stand here for hours.
and the beds were like the smallest size of bed you can legally purchase in this country, you know. And they weren't getting enough rainwater, so they were having to use river water for the showers and the toilets. So the water was like green.
Nice.
But they have boats that you go out on, and they have fishing poles for you and everything, and then you go out and catch all your fish. And it's just, we thought it was going to be like some dude driving us out and we would be fishing and stuff. Nope, they're like these small little like fishing
here's your
boats.
boat.
And you go out, drive out into the ocean, and
That's so
try
cool.
not to die, you know.
Try.
And but then as soon as you get back, they just pull all the fish out of your live well, which is a thing,
Out of your
which is a
butt.
term that everyone knows,
Mhm.
obviously. And they clean it all like right there immediately, and then vacuum seal it,
Oh, nice.
all the cuts, and then
Wow.
freeze it immediately. And then when you're leaving, they pack it into these 50-pound boxes, and you check it on the airline.
So it's like dry iced and everything, and then it
No,
actually
it's just the fish itself is frozen, and it's like inside kind of the box. The box is like treated with wax. I've seen other boxes
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that before, you know. And then it also has like a silver kind of
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
thing, you know.
Like a
But
So
no,
they're
they don't
essentially-
add. So it's
they're
just the
essentially
fish itself that's
Fish
frozen.
ice cubes
Exactly.
That's
That
the
in theory keep themselves frozen enough.
right.
Well,
But
I'm
then,
sure
like,
when it's
ours-
like on a plane, it's pretty cold in the cargo
Exactly.
bay.
It's pretty cold in there. And then, but they have it down to a science. Like they pack it right at 50 pounds because that's the weight limit. And then the airline, like half the check, probably over half the check luggage going out on that flight was fish,
Mm-hmm. I bet. Yeah.
and then it had to spend the night in Seattle. Like we had a layover. We were able to make this connecting flight, but the luggage didn't. But they have a freezer there that they put it in when it's like stuck somewhere overnight.
That's
so
cool.
Wow.
big old freezer. So they've, it makes sense. It's like big.
So
it's like a tourism
did
industry
you
essentially.
have 50 pounds of fish, or like collectively 50
Yeah.
pounds of fish?
So our group of 6 had 450 pounds of fish.
Wow.
So we had 9 boxes.
That's a lot of fish.
So
And
the
that's
4
like,
of us.
that's like butchered weight.
Exactly.
That's net.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's yeah. So that's
So-
just the cuts, like the
So
fillets or whatever.
You got a 50
That's
pound
wild.
box plus some, or did the other? The
Well,
rest of it
so
go
like
to
the
somebody-
4 of us,
another guy?
the 4 of us that came home to Utah took 6 boxes. So like my brothers took 2 because they had more freezer space. So my 2 brothers that live here each took 2 boxes, but like one of them gave a bunch to my dad, and then I'll go steal a bunch from Clint, from my
Okay.
other brother.
That's cool.
But I'm not like in a rush. We'll probably see who like kind of finishes it first, and then
Right,
trade it around
exactly.
or something like that.
But it's just shared. Because you guys all
Yeah,
live
on one
relatively
hand,
close.
on one hand, you look at it and you think like, oh, it fits on one shelf in a freezer.
yeah.
You think 50 pounds would be more than that, but on the other hand, I bet it's going to take us like 2 years to get through it.
Yeah, yeah. And you're also like, that's half my freezer space is fish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
It's a
like,
lot.
and I've eaten fish like I'll eat fish like once a year, normally. So it's like it's not
Right.
like I'm going to start eating fish all the time now necessarily.
You should
You have to.
smoke some of it.
Yeah. Remember when we were talking about smokers?
Yeah, totally. That's actually what so we went there with my dad's friend who's been there a bunch of times. It's like, it's, he goes more than once a year, I think. And that's what he normally does with it is smokes it.
I don't know if anyone cares. I don't know why I didn't say this before, but a buddy of mine was just talking about this, that he's very into smoking, and
It's-
yes, and another issue that we did not mention is consistency. So like he was talking about doing, I think it was a brisket, and it's one of the ones that takes like 12 hours.
mhm.
And he was
Yeah.
like, he got his like entry level smoker, and when he started doing like the first time he did a brisket, he looked it up with his entry level smoker, and he's like, so I have to start this at like 2 a.m. if I want
Yeah.
it like at this particular time, or no, it's whatever it is. He had to get up multiple times in the night to check it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Which is like a thing that people do.
but with the nicer ones, they have like hoppers
Yeah.
that like.
So
It's
that's
not
like
just
what
about the
Traeger,
installation.
I think
Yes.
Traeger kind of was the first one to do that, and that's why they became so popular. Because that's the hardest thing with smoking is maintaining a constant temperature,
Yes.
and the Traegers basically do it. Which I'm sure there's other ones now that do it too, but I think they were
Yeah.
kind of
Right.
the first one that did
Which
it.
is kind of lame, but whatever.
Well, no, I mean, kind
Gatekeeping
of.
just kidding.
smoking.
It depends on like if your goal is to like have good smoked stuff, then yes, that's good. If your goal is if you're like bragging about
Yeah,
how good you
but
are
it
at
is.
smoking stuff though, and you have
It
that,
is.
it's like,
It kind of reminds me
yeah,
of
well,
like
okay.
the guys who like optimize the weight on their bike that they use for exercise, and it's like, well,
No,
your point was
Aaron,
to get
that's-
exercise. Then
it's a good point. It's kind of like it's similar to espresso machines. Like prior to, I think, I don't know, 10 years ago, Starbucks. This is so nerdy. I'm so sorry to everyone. Prior to like maybe it was like 10 years ago, Starbucks had the old school espresso machines where they had to train baristas how to
yeah,
check. Like there's all these different things that you have to check for. But then
Yeah, yeah.
at a certain point, they started going, listen, it's more cost effective for us to just buy automated machines.
Yeah, it's been
Where
longer
it's
than
literally
that.
just press buttons and then
Because
it's
I
like,
worked at a Seattle's Best inside of Borders, which was like
okay.
a subsidiary of Starbucks. They were owned by Starbucks.
Yeah.
I did not know Seattle's Best was owned by Starbucks.
Seattle's
They
Best
probably
was
weren't
like
at some
purchased
point,
by
right?
Starbucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in the early 2000s or late 90s. But anyway, we had the same machine that they use in Starbucks, except it was painted red instead of green. And it literally was. You would like load in like 5 pounds of beans in the top, and then you just push a button for a single or a double shot, and it's all automatic.
It does everything.
It grinds
yeah.
it there. It sticks it. It makes the tamps it, just pulls a shot, drops the puck, everything all automatic.
So
So like
training,
if you had that at home, you wouldn't be like, oh man, I'm so good at making espresso.
right.
Yeah.
And at like and Cole, the uppity snobby
that's the
places
thing.
that Aaron and I frequent, those places,
Yeah.
it's still all automated.
Well,
so
and like the barbecue joints that you go to, they also don't like they don't have automated smokers, but like that's their job. Like if you had to get up at 2 a.m. to have espresso at 6 a.m, you'd probably buy the automated machine too, right?
Well, it's just a matter
Your
of
house.
it's all about what you want. Like, do you want to do the hobby and like learn the thing, or do you want to have the product, or both? Gun Street Wiring Shop represents a brand new approach to the guitar wiring market. From their nothing is impossible philosophy to their community first attitude, Gun Street Wiring Shop is the premier maker of guitar wiring harnesses. Based in Central Oregon, Gun Street only does one thing: make your guitar sound and play better. Bored with your standard switching? Gun Street. Need more options? Gun Street. Looking to nail that classic tone? Gun Street. You want to try something that's never been done before? Gun Street. Sean's always coming up with new circuit designs. He's always down to make something special to fit your exact needs. So hit him up now, gunstreetwiringshop.com. Turn your SG into an OMG, your Les Paul into a More Paul, your Telecaster into a Telestar Blaster. And as always, members of the street crew get an extra discount at everything at gunstreetwiringshop.com.
yeah.
If all you want is quick, easy coffee every day, you would choose an automated machine.
But that's the thing is like the difference between the two is not as significant as it is with smokers.
For espresso?
I'm saying yes, like the work involved.
The work, yes. The work is not as intense.
So the cost benefit equation looks different,
No. I mean, I like being trained now. Being trained at Starbucks is like.
I think what he's saying, like, is it
No, but
doesn't
I'm saying
take
for
you
you,
12 hours to make a.
You don't have to
espresso.
get up in the middle of the night to make espresso, regardless of which kind you
No,
have.
that's true. But
The learning curve is still pretty high. Like
I
to
do
learn
have to train
and make
somebody
it good.
exactly. Yes, I have to.
Yeah,
train
but I'm not
somebody.
saying for running a business.
Okay,
I'm saying for you, for a personal.
For you
like,
at home.
Yes.
Okay,
the analogy isn't straight across. Like, because
let's
you're
say I
talking for
had-
yourself. Am I going to participate in the hobby of making espresso, or do I just want good espresso? It's a different equation than it is for smoking.
Yeah. Yes. Let's
Because
say
you don't have
I
to get
had-
up in the middle of the night.
I don't know. I'm assuming that obviously the costs of those machines are different, but like, let's say both the automated and the old school espresso machine are both like the high level grade, blah, blah, blah. They're both $5,000 and I have $5,000 to blow on one of those machines.
Sure.
If I buy the automated one, well, I don't know. I can't say for certain that I would be able to tell the difference between the automated machine cappuccino and my favorite uppity independent place.
It's like part of it is the experience, right?
Yes.
It's the same thing with like we just spent, to go to this lodge to go fishing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like $3,000 a person plus airfare.
You could have just bought
So
50
like
pounds
I could
of
have
fish.
bought a lot of fish for
Yeah.
$4,000 or whatever,
But that's not what you want. That's not
Right.
why
It is
you go.
funny too, because like the guy, my dad's friend, a couple times he mentioned like, do you know how much this silver salmon fillet would cost in a store? And it's like, well, it cost us $3,000, so
Yeah.
it costs less than that.
He's like, I just pulled this out of the water with just over 5
we
minutes
just made
sitting
$30
here.
right now.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
but then you get to
sure.
like eat it, and when you're eating it, you're like, oh man, that was a great trip.
Exactly. That's why it's
true.
worth
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Which is why it's like all the crappy espresso or the botched briskets that you make. It's like when you finally nail it, then you're like,
exactly,
yeah, it was worth it.
Totally.
Well, and to bring this back to something that we're here for, we've talked about this
What are
before
we
with
here
guitars. We're here for guitars.
Yeah.
It's. I feel very differently about a guitar that is stock that
Totally.
that I bought, and it's like it plays great or whatever. I feel differently about those guitars than I do about the ones that I pulled apart and like, there was something I didn't like the way this felt, and so I adjusted this and messed with this, and like when I put that kind of work into it, even if it is technically not as good of a guitar as a stock one I might have, I still love it more. I play it with
it's like that Warmouth guitar. Like obviously that's not going to be as good as just like a Fender American guitar,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people always overvalue their mods when they're trying to sell something.
Yeah.
Like to you,
totally.
It's worth a lot, but for everyone else, it's not.
For them emotionally, it's worth.
It's actually worth less than a stock one would be.
Right.
To me.
Right.
Like I'm going to pay you less for it.
Exactly. It's like the same. It was the same conversation when I worked for that AV consulting company, and he was trying to sell me the company.
Yeah.
And he would say like, this company has value because we've been operating for over 30 years. And it's like, well, that
has no value to me.
Exactly.
Or to customers.
And it only has value if it creates money right now,
Yeah. I guess
I put my blood, sweat, and tears into this business. And you're like, cool.
It's the same thing with like, if you're like, you're like, I want to try every overdrive. And then they're like, well, just get a Helix. And it does everything. Like you're being stupid for trying pedals.
Yeah.
Like, well, no, I enjoy the journey.
It's like we're being stupid for playing guitar in our bedrooms. Ultimately,
yeah.
Like the whole thing is stupid. If
the audience can't tell the difference. I don't care about the audience.
It's like, first of all, I don't have an audience for one thing.
Audience, yeah. I saw this post I think in the Wampler group, and it was like this guy was asking about quote protecting your tone. And he was saying that he went to like a show, or he'd been to a couple of shows, and he had seen people who like they had tape on their pedals, not like covering the settings, but covering like the name and the logo on the pedal to it's their secret tone. And like that he asked a guy about it, and he was all sheepish and like didn't want to tell him what the pedals were. And so all these people were like, that's so stupid. And then I commented, I said, I protect my tone by never letting anybody hear me play guitar.
Yeah, abstinence is the best policy.
Yeah.
My tone is super protected. No one will ever find out what it's about.
It's like Fort Knox.
But that's such a dumb thing to do. Like,
that's weird.
I'm locking down my pedal secrets.
Because it's not like it's some proprietary, like, if you were like selling your tone somehow, I don't know. That's like a weird.
But what are you going to sell? I'm going to sell a list of pedals that I use.
Of my settings or something. It's so weird.
Okay. So, and this is way before I was into gear the way I am now. I'm sure I've told this on the podcast that my dad years ago, he told me that it was in Rolling Stone that somebody super famous, this was, at the height of ZZ Top's
Rain
fame, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That someone, I'm not sure who, it's somebody that you wouldn't necessarily expect. It was somebody like, Huey Lewis's guitar player or something like that, like called, tracked down ZZ Top and was like, hey, I really love the sound of your lead guitar
mm-hmm.
on that record. Tell me how you got that sound. And they were like, no. Like they just straight up like, I'm not telling you because that's our sound. and it like I think right now it's a lot harder to have that attitude. And I'd say it's harder to like keep it a secret too, but like I think just because of the way the internet is, like people are like less willing to like put up with that kind of an attitude, but still like I guess it's still possible to be like, no,
it's just such a weird thing to like care about protecting, like even to say I'm protecting my tone, like keeping it secret. I mean, I guess it's like it would have been more like producers back in the day, like how do you achieve that effect? Like I'm not telling anybody, but then it's like because I want to be the only one who does it, so if people want that, they have to come to me. But if you're like some random guitar player, even if you're like a session guitar player or whatever, it just seems super weird. Like this pedal combination is the one thing that I have that sets me apart, and if anybody else had it, I would be out of a job. It's super weird.
It's weird.
Yes.
Like
Because
I get why like it.
Well,
Go ahead.
the combination of your gear is not the only thing. If you're a famous musician, it's not the only thing that you have going for you. That's, I mean, I think that's the. Besides,
I would guess that these are
tone
people
of your
who
fingers,
are not famous enough, so like that is the only thing they have going for them.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, but it's weird because it's like, well, maybe this is just no. It's not just in church circles. There's so many magazines where it's like, you know, guitar magazines where it's like huge whole interviews that are like, give us your rig
like
rundown.
the whole rig rundown video series. Yeah,
and they're like very excited to like say on this song, this is how I'm doing it in the studio, and this is how I'm doing it live. Like,
but I guess if you're like a band, then your main product is your songs more than anything. But if you're like a studio musician, your main product isn't your songs.
That's a good point, I guess.
It's your sound, but I would think it would be more about your skill than
it's your skill though.
Than the pedals
it's got to be your
use.
skill too,
Yeah.
right?
Because a lot of times it's more like, a lot of times it's the engineer who's dialing in the sound.
Right. In the studio, so much of it's all processed through so many different things anyway, the desk and everything and the microphones and
I get where like the initial instinct to want to protect it, I get where that comes from, but it doesn't. Where
does it come from? Because I don't think I get it.
I don't know. It's just like trying to protect your. It's like they consider it their intellectual property or something like that.
I guess, yeah.
Trying to protect what makes you interesting.
It just seems like it's so like ego driven, but it's the kind of thing where it's like only a person who is not at a high enough level to need to do that would want to do it.
Yeah, yes. And I would say like what's funny is like we're just talking about, first of all, anybody can listen to you play a particular riff, and you know, with a certain amount of ability, they can figure out the notes that you played very quickly, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of works the same for effects. Like you can listen and go, okay, I don't know what brand that is, but I know that's a delay. I know that's reverb. I know, like, you can say like, if with, you know, if your ear's trained enough, you can identify the name of like a series of effects. And so then it's like, well, what are we even talking about? Like, did you create the pedal? No.
Like the reason, like a company will protect, they'll have like a restaurant will have a secret recipe for something, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess the thinking behind that is that you don't want someone else to open a competing restaurant and just make your same thing. But like, it's a weird, like you're not selling your sound, you're selling music. Like somebody can't take somebody else's guitar settings, or even like if it was a Helix patch. If I gave you an exact Helix patch that some famous recording artist was using on a recording, not that they would, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like you're then going to be able to eat into their business.
Yes,
right.
That's true.
Because even then, like, I know it's very cliche to say the tone is in the fingers and stuff like that, but like how you play the guitar is probably more important than the settings you have or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, and this is also like, there's just a level of like, it doesn't matter if I have the exact, like all of the exact, all the gear that, you know, Rivers Cuomo has.
Yeah.
I'm not him. So it doesn't matter if I secretly found out all of his stuff. And now I'm going to create his next album. No, I'm not. Like,
so weird.
I guess I
not
get it
the
if you're
case
like
at all.
if you're like a part of if you're like in the industry of like studio guitar players and you know that there's 500 people who have the same level of skill as you
totally.
and like the same level of notoriety and the same everything, and there's 200 jobs and you're like, this one pedal is will allow me to have an edge at getting these jobs over these other people, like, and I don't want them to have that. I guess that makes sense, but it seems like that's would not actually be a real scenario.
No, it wouldn't, because the pedal builder wants to sell as many units as possible, and we know that, like, we see that the second a pedal comes out, all those, like, there's guys at a certain tier that get those pedals for free.
Yeah.
So like that doesn't even happen. Like, so I mean, I think the way those, you know, being a session guy, or a studio guy, like, or gal, or
studio
they,
person,
them,
come on,
or they them,
studio man,
a studioer, being, thank you, studioer, that, like, then it just comes down. I mean, you have to be at a certain level, ability wise, but like it's really about like the everybody just liking you.
Yeah, it's way more about connections than what
if
pedal you have tape over on your pedal board.
Exactly. If you're a butthole and you are as good as this other person who's like really great and easy to work with,
you're going to get more jobs.
The butthole is going to get more jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people go, whoa.
Always.
Whoa.
That guy must be really good because he's hella jerky.
He doesn't give a fuck. We gotta get him on
this record. That guy is the worst. He must be so good. It's like
what's the secret?
It's like you sound better because people you don't like you, or like you're like, man, that guy's really jerky, but I kind of like his sound, you know. It's growing on me.
Yeah.
I'm saying I like bad boys. Is what I'm trying to say. In the studio.
Bad persons. I'm glad we solved this.
I want a lady on the streets, but a freak in the studio. That's how I like my guys, my players.
Can we please get that on a t-shirt?
But the other thing someone pointed out is like, okay, so like, let's say you have a pedal board, right? And you put tape over the name of the pedal. How long would it take someone to do a quick Google search and find out what that pedal was? Like,
totally
no time at all.
It's such a weird. It's like if you were like, if there was like some private information written on a chalkboard in a conference room or on a whiteboard, and you're like standing in front of it, like, no, waving your arms, like, really?
Like, that doesn't delete it. It's so funny. Anyway, I don't know what the solution was. I never heard the resolution of that issue, but there were good times had by all.
Wonderful.
Phil is having a family time. That was adorable.
Sorry, he
ran
in here to tell me about the thing he built in Minecraft.
So you want to know what I want to talk about here?
Minecraft.
Listen to this.
Minecraft. Ooh.
You want to talk about that now, or you want to talk about that
I don't know.
Like in a week's time?
Maybe we should talk about it next week.
We can talk about it in a week's time. I got my calipers out and everything.
Oh, yes. I want to test the sound of the different shapes.
Okay. We'll try that.
See if we can guess what they are.
Ooh. Okay.
Let's not tell anybody what we're talking about, though, until next time.
Mm.
Same bat time. Same bat channel.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I watched. Have you seen?
So wait, what happened? Sorry, I was just listening. You're not ending the episode, are you? Okay.
No, not quite. We're still in this one. We're still in this
work message. Okay.
Oh
no.
I watched. My wife and I have been watching a lot of movies lately. We watched all the John Wick movies.
Dope.
Which were pretty good. The first one was like good, and then it's like this is kind of the same. The second one was okay, and the third one was good because there was a lot of knife stuff in the third one.
Dude, I know.
Yeah, the knife stuff was cool, and the dogs were cool. The like fight dogs were cool.
Fight dogs.
That was cool. The fourth one's coming out, but then we started watching like what else did we watch? I don't remember, but I was like, oh, I should watch. I've never seen like the DC movies, you know.
Ugh.
So we watched Justice League first, which I know it's not first sequentially, but then I went back and watched Batman versus Superman, and that movie's super long for one thing. It's like 3 hours long, but also I don't understand why Batman hates Superman so much, or why Superman hates Batman so much in that movie.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
You might have been spacing out or changing a diaper or feeding a baby.
Okay.
There's a moment where Bruce Wayne is having a great old time in his city, being a rich young man. And it's a flashback to the scene in the previous Superman movie.
Where I watched that one too.
Is freaking destroying a city, trying to kill
at the end of the movie
the bad guys, and Batman is pissed off. He's like, "Who is this freaking alien busting up my city? Probably his personal property, like,
but it's not his city.
Owns
to
those
be honest,
buildings. He probably owns those buildings, though.
You do find out in the beginning of Batman vs Superman that one of the buildings they fly through is Wayne something.
There you go. So it's all about the money.
Okay. But he seems like really motivated to kill this guy.
Yeah. Well, he's a freaking alien from outer space.
And
dude.
like that's all he cares about.
He's a handsome
but
alien.
his justification is like, well, you know, if there's even like a 0.1% chance that he might be our enemy, then we have to destroy him. Like that's the moral thing to do.
Yeah.
Even though there's no indication that he is our enemy.
1%
Which that's kind of the whole thing, like in the whole movie, it's like everybody has that same mindset. It's like, well, he could potentially turn bad and try to kill us, so we have to destroy him, right?
Yeah. Yes.
It's crazy.
It is crazy and dumb.
Although I will say I liked Ben Affleck's Batman more than I thought I would. Particularly his Bruce Wayne. I think Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne is enjoyable to watch.
That sounds so dirty for some reason. I could watch Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne all day.
Well, like the movie's not very good, but Bruce, his
Wayne.
portrayal of Bruce Wayne is, I like that. Like I would watch that.
I haven't seen any of the Ben Affleck movies. Is there more than one?
He's been in many movies. Yeah, he was in Good Will Hunting, Geely,
Reindeer Games.
Reindeer Games.
I love how Geely was the second one you mentioned.
Dude, Geely was off the chain.
Dude, wait. Have you guys seen Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne? Like in those pictures with him and Katy Perry on the paddleboard?
Oh my gosh, that's not okay. Yeah, he was in Batman v Superman, and he was in the Justice League.
And
Batman.
I think he was in a deleted scene of Suicide Squad, the original.
Okay, I believe that. I also watched The Suicide Squad, which I didn't know was a new version or like a sequel to Suicide Squad.
Isn't that dumb?
It's very dumb.
Isn't it dumb that there's there's Suicide Squad and the sequel is called The Suicide Squad? It's kind of like it's more dumb than saying the first movie is called Alien and the second movie is called Aliens.
Yeah.
Because when it's written down, you can tell the difference. But if people are talking about it in casual conversation, like you kind of have to clarify. Wait. Are you talking about? You have to like say it like that. Are you talking about the first one?
First, there was The Fast and the Furious. Then there was Too Fast, Too Furious. Then there was The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. And then there was Fast and Furious.
Yeah, that's true. They circle back around.
The fourth one's just Fast and Furious. And then it was Fast 5, and then they started including numbers at that point.
It's almost endearing that like they don't take any aspect of it too seriously. You know?
Yeah, so that's
including
like
the titles.
That's like the fourth movie of a ridiculous series. This one is like just two. There's two. One's called. It'd be like if Godfather Part 2 was called Godfather instead of The Godfather.
It's really weird.
Right.
Except
I think
mean, they're not like the Godfather movies, but
now
because what are
here's
some
the thing.
other? Because like Rocky, they did that, right? But that was after 4 or 5 movies. Wasn't
was
the
just-
latest Rocky just called Rocky?
Yeah, and he did the exact same
Was it-
thing with Rambo. The first
well,
movie's
because
not
the
called
first movie
Rambo.
was True Blood or First
The first
Blood.
movie's called First Blood. The second one's called Rambo 2. The third one is called Rambo 3.
Yeah, and then there
And
was one
then-
called Rambo.
But then the
Then it-
later one was just called Rambo, right?
Yeah. Then it's called Rambo. I'm like,
But
wait
that's
a
like a
minute.
normal. That's like a. They do that on purpose to try because they do it in the video game world too.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
they're trying to like
exactly.
reset and say like this is now the official one, you know.
Well, it's because
But I think Rocky was called Rocky. I don't think there was another one later called Rocky.
you're right. It's called Rocky. And then later isn't
I thought that most recent one was just called Rocky, but
Well,
I
there
think
was
the-
Rocky, then there was Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4,
Rocky Balboa.
Rocky. Oh yeah, that's what it was. It's called Rocky Balboa.
that's right. Okay, which is actually that's actually not a bad way of kind of rebooting it.
And then there was Creed.
But
And
that's
Creed 2.
With arms wide open. Are we talking about
Did you
Creed
guys-
Bratton?
Did you guys see
Yeah.
the what's it, Scott Stapp reviews the movie Creed?
No.
No,
I think it was on TikTok. And
Scott Stapp seems pretty funny.
Was it actually
And-
him or was it someone
yes,
like
no,
okay,
it's really him,
nice.
and it's like he's kind of like you can tell he's definitely in on the joke,
Totally.
but he's trying to play it as straight as possible, where it's just
Yeah.
like he's like, so this movie's called Creed, and it's very stupid, and
Well, and even
there
there was that TikTok of the guy-
Stupid.
there was that TikTok of the guy singing, I think it was With Arms Wide Open, at karaoke, and Scott Stapp duetted it. And the guy was
Oh.
clearly like poking fun, not in like a malicious way, but just
Yeah.
like totally overdoing the voice and everything.
Yeah.
And he duetted it and was like super into it. Like he knows
That's-
that's, you know,
That's
like he's in on the joke at this
He
point.
was the opposite
which is
of
pretty
trapped.
good. Exactly. Holy crap, dude.
That's such a,
And
that's
they're a
my
perfect
favorite thing.
example of why you shouldn't do that, you know?
What's their song? Oh, Headstrong.
Oh my gosh.
dude.
It's weird. One of the
I-
weirdest things in that trend is like in that early 2000s butt rock type stuff is like when you go back and listen to a lot of it, the way that they act on stage and like their personas and everything are so much more hardcore than the actual music.
yeah.
yeah,
Like the music is like pretty bland alternative music a lot of times.
Yeah, it's all
and
radio.
they're like
friendly stuff.
acting they're acting like they're playing death metal or something like that, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the time in the band photos, I don't remember what the band was, but I remember going, I remember thinking, okay, like back when I was very much into that music in the mid to late 90s, every band photo in the CD art, like they look intimidating, right? Or at least they're trying
Yeah.
very hard to look intimidating.
Yeah.
And there was a band that came out right in there that had the equal amount of aggression and like, you know, crunchiness, but they
they were
all
just,
had
like,
polo
smiling.
shirts. they didn't look angry, but they
Yeah.
weren't smiling, but they were all
Yeah.
wearing like button shirts. They
Yeah,
looked like
yeah.
they were like ready to golf or whatever. And I was like, that is a really cool move. Like they're very aware that like, listen, we're not going to stand out.
That was like one
We
of the
need to-
funny.
Gosh, who was that did that?
Like more
the-
embroidery on your jeans is not the answer at this point. It's you gotta
yes, exactly.
pivot
Just
and
go way
polos.
backwards.
That was like the Impossibles.
More embroidery.
The Impossibles were like an upbeat ska punk band
Yeah.
from Austin, Texas, obviously.
Hey, doesn't that one of the guys listen?
Oh yeah,
Who
totally.
know
The
this?
bassist does.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And one of the funny things about that, and now you're making me nervous because I'm probably not going to have all these facts right. But it became a thing that they would wear these jerseys, but they're kind of like soccer jerseys. They're like these dark blue soccer jerseys that said the Impossibles on the front of them.
Mhm.
And they intentionally made the decision like, well, at least we'll look consistent on stage, you know.
Yeah.
But they're just like these kind of goofy looking, like that. They don't match the style of the music at all, you know. With
No,
ska,
right,
you
right.
expect to see like, heck, you might even expect to see someone in a suit and tie or something like that. But
Yeah.
not these like, kind of a few of them kind of chubby looking guys in these soccer jerseys,
Okay,
so that was pretty great.
I've got a question, and I know we do have. I mean, clearly you just mentioned one working muso. I'm curious for anybody who has played shows consistently with any kind of a gimmicky outfit, right?
I did in high school,
where the outfit is part of the thing, and you don't play without it. The last time I saw, and this was a couple years ago, when I saw the 65.
Chevette 68.
Sorry, did I say the 68? Thank you.
Oh, they just need one more then.
Thank you, Aaron. I hope they're not listeners. I mean, if you're listeners, I love you. I love you so much.
The chances, like, that would be astronomical odds.
I know.
For them
but listen,
to be listeners.
Listen, okay.
By the way, Dave Bazan's very upset that you don't know the lyrics to Control.
Did he just text you?
Yeah.
He's like, what the hell? He doesn't know.
Yeah. Some of our our listeners that we hold in high regard, we give them a live feed and they listen as we record.
Yeah. They're on the Zoom.
So the 68, they play in, it's two dudes and they play in suits.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the show, they look so freaking gnarly and sweaty. They're soaked. They're soaked through. And I've seen them play a couple times, and both times just they're putting everything into it, and they look drenched. And I have sweated in a suit before.
It's awful.
Cole, I'm sure you have.
Dude, I do it every Sunday. What are you talking about?
So like, what do you do?
Welcome to my world.
What do you like? If you're on the road, like, is it like Superman? Do they have like 3 or 4 of this suit?
No. They wear a disgusting suit, probably.
That was like, well, yeah. So that's like, sorry, I was spacing out because I was going and looking up Craig Tweedy, who's the Impossible's bassist. Okay. Which I wonder if he's related to Jeff Tweedy.
I wonder if he's related to Tweety Bird.
But were you talking about the Boss Tone, perhaps? Because he's like the perfect example. You know who I'm talking about? The guy in the Boss Tones who dances the whole time in a suit and tie.
He was not talking about him, but
is he a fan of ours? That'd be cool.
No. But I'm just saying he's an example of somebody who they're touring night in and night out, and he's wearing this suit and must just be drenched in sweat by the end, because that is like, it is hard work. Like, you picture it's like basically skanking. It's like being in a Zumba class for 90 minutes or whatever. Like,
yes.
That was like
he might be working harder than some of the musicians on the band.
Way harder physically. Yeah.
Like a lot of bands in like the garage revival thing were doing the suit thing.
Totally.
Like the Hives, I remember.
Kind of ironically.
Who else? There was another band. Oh, the Trail of Dead. Do you remember them? Those dudes wore suits all the time.
Dudes in suits.
But I remember I read an interview and the dude was saying like they all worked office jobs, so they would just like have a show in the evening and they would like just come from work and they were all wearing suits. So then they just that became part of their thing.
So much cooler.
See, that is way cool. If it was just like
so
out of necessity or whatever.
Yeah. Yes.
And then it became a thing,
but then it's disgusting.
Yeah. But then it has a good backstory to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then he's also he has his
go to work the next
day. his entire day's worth of swass, and then you add on the concert swass.
Yeah.
Well, that's better than like 3 concert nights in a row or weeks
true.
of concert nights in a row.
But like, yeah, I mean, I would think that you definitely need. I mean, you have to have many suits.
You've got to have a bunch.
It's just awful.
If that's your situation,
wearing anything wool in like
wool
or polyester if
his teeth were made of wool.
It's just awful.
It's a Big Daddy reference for this.
Just don't wear suits. Ever.
So that picture. Actually, my brother, I serve my mission in Montreal. So during the summer it would get very hot, but max it would be like 100 degrees,
It's pretty hot.
But yeah, we definitely weren't dry cleaning our suits all the time, and we only had like 2 suits. So I know what it's like you bring it home and then you hang it up.
How many guys were there? Like 3 guys? 2 suits and 3 guys.
A bunch
And
of
you're
guys,
knocking
yeah.
on the door to strangers,
sharing
and you're like,
suits.
Oh,
mind if we come in? And they're
yeah.
like,
Can I come sit on your
Oh, you smell
furniture?
terrible.
Yeah. Like I can
open the
see
door, they're
sweat
like,
dripping from your taint right now.
Can I use your restroom for a minute? You're
And,
like Ross in the leather
so
pants.
what you
like,
do-
trying to
What you do
powder
is you hang
yourself
it up. You hang it up inside out.
You can't get them back on. Okay.
So like the sleeves are on the inside basically,
Yes.
and then
we know what
put it on
inside
the
out
hanger,
means.
and then but like you don't have to like pull the sleeves out or
okay,
whatever.
okay,
Just
okay.
come on, Aaron.
and then I would usually spray it with Febreze.
oh, really?
But like my brother served in Africa, and they didn't have to wear suits all that often. But there were some meetings where we'd have to wear suits, and what he did, he converted all of his white shirts to short sleeve white shirts,
Okay, yeah.
and
Converted?
he took like the parts that he cut off and
just,
sewed
like,
them on the
sewed it into the
inside of
sleeve
the
of the
sleeve
jacket.
of the jacket, so it looked like so the cuff was sticking out the end.
Genius.
Pretty strong move, you know.
It's a very like early 20s move, like a young man's move.
Okay, this is kind of funny because I was going back to the email from Craig Tweedy, our number one Working Muso fan, and I shouldn't even say this on the podcast, but I'm going to be in Portland in a couple weeks. Maybe I shouldn't say that on the podcast either. And I asked for his address so I could send him some stuff, and it reminded me that he lives in Portland. So now it's like, oh man, I have to see if he got to get together and go to freaking Denny's or something.
Denny's.
Go to
No, oh wait, Dick's is
go get a Voodoo Donut.
Dick's is in Seattle.
yeah, that's Seattle.
It's so funny because remember Voodoo Donuts were like a big thing, and now they're
Heck
so
yeah, dude.
far
Yeah.
they're so far past it that like when you go and look up donut places, I'm sure like any local in Portland would be like, no, don't go to Voodoo. They're sellouts. Like they're not the real.
They're not the real
underground
Portland donut scene.
Exactly.
Everyone always like, I think it's probably like a thing that you do. Like you have to go to Voodoo and then you have to say how it's not that good.
yeah.
Like, do you have to do
Totally.
both those
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's over. It's
It's
overrated.
all right,
It's like,
but it's not like that good.
yeah.
There's this
Overrated.
place here called Sidecar that's kind of like that. It's like they started out and then they got really popular, and now it's like it's cool to think they're not that good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then, like, part of the reason is because, like, now every medium-sized town has like an artisan funky donut place. Like,
Yeah.
my suburb has an artisan funky donut place that has
Yeah.
like syringes that you can put in your own.
Yeah, I'm not into that.
Like, it's all kinds of like,
That's too much.
yeah, exactly. So it's like, okay,
Utah
like,
doesn't have those. We have soda. We have like soda shops.
Like artisan soda fountains, soda.
Like
yeah,
you
soda
actually go
jerks.
there and you can get a Diet Coke that has like 100 different flavors in it or whatever.
Nice.
And they are everywhere here, and they are insanely popular. It's crazy.
That'd be good if you started a podcast and you called it the Soda Jerks and you just talked about different types of soda.
I don't think it has legs.
I don't either.
You know what does have legs though is Phil's
Friendship.
game.
Oh,
Oh,
which will hit next episode.
yep, yep.
But you know what else has legs? Friendship.
Thank you.
Thanks
Yes.
for friendship.
Thanks for friendship.
Thanks for friendship.